Hey everybody, how you doing? Another episode of Chat with Chatto. This is my second presentation for today. If you do me a favor, just pop something in the comment box. Let me know who you are, where you're from. Just to give me a little context about, actually know the people are there listening. It's always weird talking to a microphone. And just also to kind of just get to interact with you guys a little bit. I am going to be able to have a Q&A session at the end. And if there's any questions that are relevant to what I'm talking to at that moment, I will also probably address them at that time. My name is Steve Chatto. I had a YouTube show on my buddy's channel for a year. I think it was back in 2018, called Chat with Chatto. Been a full-time real estate investor since 2013. So just kind of give you guys just a little bit of information about who I am. And this session is titled "Never Fix and Flip a Property Again." And that's pretty much where I am right now in my real estate career. Do not enjoy flipping properties. Doesn't work for me, and there's reasons that I prefer buy and holds and wholesaling. So I'm kind of going to dig into, for me, as far as buy and holds and how they trump fix and flips all day long. So just a little background on me. I did speak a little bit more in my last session, but basically I was a full-time pharmacist up through 2013. Quit my job once I realized I could source deals and I could make money if I could source deals. So I quit my job, jumped full on into it, and wholesaled properties until about 2016 full time. At that time, I'd acquired from 2010. I started buying properties, and I had about 5 rentals at that time. And a little boop, switch went off in my head, and I was really realizing the importance of cash flow, because I was hustling. Every day I was hustling to get that next paycheck, to get that next deal closed, to get to the next closing table, to get the next property under contract, and it's exhausting. At that point, I figured out that I could buy properties. And one of the things that I promised on this Never Fix and Flip Again, how to acquire rental properties using other people's money, and leaving the closing table with some cash in hand. It's always good to close and leave with a check, as opposed to close on a property and come out of pocket. Every time I come out of pocket, I don't enjoy it. So I want to show you guys at least how I'm doing it, how I'm purchasing properties, how I'm raising the money, how I am structuring deals so that I get money at closing. And just the power in it. If you guys want to connect with me, by the way, I set up just a quick link, chatwithchatto.com. That's going to send you to a squeeze page. You'll be able to put in your email. That'll give you access to my Facebook mastermind group. It's a small, intimate group. I'm active there. If people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And it's an easy way to connect with me. And it'll also give you access to my the contracts that I use. They are not necessarily legal advice, but they've worked for me. And I'm just a regular guy who buys houses. So that being said, go into the comments field. Let me know you're here. Let me know what where you're from, and if any questions come up along the way, I'll try to answer them, and we'll definitely have time at the end to do that. So for me, it's a little bit about myself, and again, the whole cash flow thing to me is of utmost importance. Building a wholesaling business and going through dry spells and going through 1, 2, sometimes 3 months without getting a deal was too much for me to handle. Even if it may not be exactly as much as I want it to be, if I have cash flowing assets, most of my cash flowing assets are primarily single family rentals, some 2, 3, 4, 5 families, but having the knowledge that at the beginning of the month I got a whole PO box full of rent checks is great. So I personally, the first couple properties I bought, I used my own money. I back in the day, I bought rental properties when I was up in New England, and that was all easy money through banks. I mean, that was just you breathe and you get a loan. But back in 2010, when I started back into it, the crash had already happened. Lending was a lot more difficult, and I had to use my own money. Using my own money, I was only able to purchase 5 houses. There were a couple of them were cheap and needed a lot of work. I had to put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get them where they needed to be. And I kind of ran out of money. I can only buy so many houses with my own money. I can only buy so many houses with my own money. So, okay, how do I go ahead and, I couldn't figure out how these guys are buying all these properties. Where are they getting this money from? How are they doing it? I'm wholesaling properties to them. They're buying properties again and again. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like I was stuck. I felt like I was stuck wholesaling properties, and I needed to buy properties. So, long story short, in 2016, I started figuring out, okay, I need to figure out how to get properties. I need to get a partner. Like I saw one guy in one of my buyers, and he had a partner. Big money guy from North Jersey, and he partnered up with him, and he was doing the work. The guy was bringing the money. I'm like, okay, maybe that'll work. So that caused me to say, okay, let me see, start talking to people in my network, let them know what I'm doing, and see what I can do to find a partner. And I ended up getting a partner. And we structured it in such a way that, we were 50-50. We were 50-50. I got 50% of the property. He got 50% of the property. And he brought the money to the table. And that was good. Obviously, he's got his basis in the property and that type of thing. But that was good. But again, then he ran out of money, right? So I got 9 properties with him. And then he gets tight on money at some point. And I'm kind of relying on him. So I'm like, man, how do I figure this out? So long story short is I had a deal. It was a pretty inexpensive deal, and I needed to get funding for it. And I started talking to people in my real estate group, right? Because those are people I know, there's people I'm interacting with. I'm going to the RIA every single month. So anyway, long story short is I like, okay, I just started letting people know, and then I found a gentleman, and he was able to put up a small loan, not a lot. I think it was like 15 grand. It was $15,000 we needed, because that's what we were short to buy this 9th property, right? So that's kind of when I was transitioning, and he came to the table. He brought up his 15 grand, and we put the rest of the money in and got the deal done. And I'm paying him interest on his money every month, and I got a cash flowing asset out of it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So now he lent me, he lent me some money, and I had he lent me some money, and I had to give up absolutely no equity. I still had equity in the property. I'm like, okay, this is it. And I'm starting to talk to other investors and how they're doing it, and learning about private money and how to raise private money. And it felt like, okay, well, now I was in a position where I needed something. I needed something from someone. I need their money, right? I need their money to buy the deal. And my mindset wasn't right. I was thinking that, they had something I needed, but that wasn't true. I had something they needed. That was the mindset shift for me that was extremely important. Was I had something they needed, right? If somebody's sitting there, I don't know, maybe they got a retirement fund with 200K in it, 250K, whatever it might be, right? They're either at the mercy of the stock market, or they're trying to find an investment, whether, if they know enough to put it in a self-directed IRA, and they're making, like, I look at, these people's returns, and like they're going up and down with how much money they have in their retirement account. It was inconsistent. It was, wasn't really something that was good for them. And I'm like, wow, like I'm providing a service where they get to get that money invested in real estate, right? Without owning the real estate, but backed by real estate with renters in play. Like the renters are paying the mortgage, right? Well, they're not paying the mortgage. I'm paying the mortgage. The renters are paying me, but like they can see how they're getting paid back. They can see like, okay, cool. He's got, he's renting out the property and then he's paying me. That's how he's going to pay me back. And then, he's going to refinance. So, in a year or two, I'll get my money back. It's not out forever. And just how much of value is that to provide a place for people to put their money and earn good returns? So I'm like, okay, cool. So let's do this, right? So, now I learned how to source deals. That was part of it, is sourcing the deals. Finding the deals is one part of it. The other part is finding the money. So if I can find money and I can find deals, I can buy properties. So that for me, there was a switch that got flipped after I got that first lender that was, willing to work with me. And then, since then, it's really, it really becomes just a conversation I have with people, and a mindset where I'm actually able to help people. And I mean, let's say, just think about it. If you had, there's a lot of people sitting on a lot of money right now. If you're sitting on even $1 million, like if someone came down and dropped, said, here's $1 million invested in real estate, money wasn't an issue any longer. Are you in a position in your business that you can deploy $1 million and buy like stuff that's actual deals, not just buy stuff to buy stuff, but buy stuff that's actual deals? So like there's a level, a constant leveling up. Like the better you get at finding more deals, the better you get at finding more lenders, because the lenders.
Hey, do you need to share your screen for this one?
I am going to need to share my screen.
All right, I'm going to pull it up now for you then, okay?
Okay, cool.
Keep doing your thing, baby. I love the knowledge. Let's go.
There we go. Is my screen showing? There we are. Boom, share screen. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Boom.
It won't crash. Is it up? Here we go. Gotcha. All right, thanks, man.
Are we up? I see the thing spinning. There we go. So this is a property that we purchased. So I'm going to get into this in a second. But, so basically, as I'm able to find more deals, right, I'm able to, and not only find the deals, but actually get the deals rehabbed, get them rented, and manage them, right? As I'm able to manage and get more deals, right, I'm able to handle the influx of more money from private lenders. And then once these things are performing and I refinance them out, and the seller, I'm sorry, not the seller, the lender gets his money back, well, what's he want to do? He wants to give it back to me so he can keep making money. So it's a vicious circle in the right direction. So I'm going to kind of, again, I talked about I would never flip another property. And this property here would have probably been a pretty good flip. This is, in the suburbs outside of Trenton. And it's a nice 4-bedroom, one bath house. And I said, okay, well, how do I buy a property and put a check in my pocket? So this property here, we figured when we did it that I can go over here. I think I can use a pointer. Let me see how this works. Let me just test my technology here. There you go. So you can see my screen. Haha. Okay. So the ARV, anyway, I love technology. You're not supposed to be there yet. So the tech, okay, there we go. Get my tech all confused. So the ARV on this property, we figured to be about 185 at the time of purchase. But the property needed work. Luckily, able to source this deal. We were able to pick up this property for $82,000. So it was a pretty good deal. It did need a complete renovation, new kitchens, new baths. Actually, we had to remove a bathroom because it was completely destroyed, and we couldn't put it back together the right way as far as termite damage and all sorts of fun stuff. But that being said, the kind of the part that stinks about fixing and flipping. The nice thing about rentals is, I'll just mention real quick, if I make a mistake on a rental, eventually I'll get my money back. If I make a mistake on a fix and flip, just less money I'm going to make, or hopefully break even. That being said, so this was when we purchased it, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Unfortunately, ended up as a 4-bedroom, 1-bath. Not going to get too into that story, but completely brand new bathroom, new kitchen, granite, new windows, new flooring, new HVAC. We really put a lot of renovation into this property. So we picked up the property for $82,000, but we knew we needed to do work to it. So when we borrowed the money, we borrowed $120,000 from our private lender. So that means when we left the closing table, $82,000 plus closing costs, let's call it $85,000. We left the closing table with $35,000, which is approximately the renovation costs for this particular property. So we left the table with a check for $35,000. That private lender, he was able to get a first position mortgage on the property, good property in a good area, and even at $120,000, once all the rehab is complete, obviously he's worked with us, he knows we're going to get the job done, and he's in a position where he's owed $120,000 on a property that's worth $185,000. So he's in a pretty good first position. This property actually ended up renting out for $2,000 a month. So when we have this property rented for $2,000 a month, it's cash flowing about $390 a month after all expenses. So that is how I purchased this property. I took no money out of my pocket. All the money came from the private lender. I rehabbed the property, and the renovation fell somewhere around $35,000. So I really didn't have to come out of pocket for the renovation. And then, lastly, it's cash flowing, whatever it was, 6 months later, we have a cash flowing property that's actually been rented since then. So that's an example with actual numbers of how to purchase a property and come out of it at closing with money in your pocket. So now the question, so let me just see what time it is here. It's 11:08. Okay, cool. So I'm just kind of keep track of time here, make sure I kind of get everything I want to get in. So that's a little bit actually of number 3, how I structure the deal. But okay, where do I find private lenders from? Like, where do I get private lenders from? And at the end of the day, wrong way. Everything's backwards when I look on the screen. At the end of the day, all my private lenders are going to end up being in my phone. That guy that I went to high school with, right, that I still talk to once in a while. Hey, let him know what I'm doing, right? It's old friends, it's family. Like in the beginning, it's people people that trust you, right? Because until there is a track record, until you can show, that you are able to give these people their returns and take care of them, your first private lenders are probably going to be people that trust you. So that's going to be the most important thing. And when you're I know when I'm using someone else's money, I care about it more than I care about my own money, that they get taken care of. And one of the things that when you're having these conversations with private lenders that they don't ask, that's very important, but they don't ask it. It's like, how do I get my money back? So you need to make sure that you know how you're going to get them their money back. Like, I can't just buy this house and owe this guy $120,000 for the next 30 years, right? I guess I could amortize it and make a principal reduction payment, but how long am I going to have his money out for, right? People are not really too keen on having their money out for 15, 30 years, right? So there needs to be a game plan on the other side of it to get them their money back, right? So that's part of like your responsibility as the investor is to make sure that you're going to be able to get them the principal back. How do I get them the principal back? Usually it's through a refinance, which I'm going to get into a little bit more. And that's the whole BRRRR strategy, right? So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, whatever all the R's are. But it's the BRRRR strategy where you get to keep the property, you borrow money, or you use your own money, and then you get your money back out. Well, if you use your own money, it limits you. Use other people's money, you can do as much as you want. So when talking to private lenders, again, one of the things that they don't ask, but is always important, is to let them know how they're going to get their money back, what your plan is to get their money back. Number two, I found it very useful to not even ask for the money. I found a lot of times that it's just letting people know what you do and how you do it, and ask if they know anybody who might be interested. Who would be interested in investing in real estate, that might want to know about it. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, what about me? I'd like to, I got some money sitting there. What can I do? Or sometimes it's just letting people know what you do, and they ask you. But it's all in the conversations you have with people. It's just as simple as, hey, just even somebody you just met, oh, I invest in real estate. Oh, well, oh, and then they talk about all the horror stories. I mean, oh, no, it's doing great. I'm buying all these properties. How you buying? Explain to them how you do it. Oh, I use other people's money. I use their money. I give them a good return usually. And again, depends on, and again, it's another mistake I made at the beginning. I was offering much higher of an interest rate because, I felt I needed their money more than I really needed it. But again, it's, explaining to them how you do it so that you can, so that they can get it. And then if they know you and they start to like you and they trust you, they're gonna say, hey, you know what? I'm sitting on 50,000. There's something I could do with that. Oh, well, let's see. Might be able to do something, this, that, and the other. So that is, kind of how to find them and how to have conversations with them. And then as far as deal structure, the only other thing I want to go into as far as deal structure is, you need to make sure that you're putting the right protections in place for your lenders. Just off the top of my head, you got to make sure you get a lender's title policy. So if there's any title issues that come back to haunt you after purchase, that the lender is insured. You need to make sure that the lender has a first position mortgage on the property. The mortgage note should always be separate and not recorded. The mortgage note is a private document. The mortgage that gets recorded on public record references the note, but is not recorded because it's not public. You don't need to put public information as far as how much you're paying in interest and the terms of your loan with your lender. But it is a good idea to put the it's required. It's not a good idea. It's required to put the amount of the loan that's being the amount of the mortgage being put against the property. You need to make sure that you have the right insurance on the property. If the property is vacant, don't get insurance as if it's occupied, right? If you just go and get insurance on a property that's under construction and you don't get the right insurance and something happens, that could be bad if your lender, if now all of a sudden the insurance is not going to pay for it because you told them it was a property that has tenants in it, when it's a property that needs a major rehab and is dangerous. So make sure you have the right kind of insurance and make sure that your lender is an additional insured on the policy as a lender, so that if something does happen, they know that they're going to get paid out, on what's owed to them if there's a major catastrophe on the property. And these are things that you definitely, that you bring up in your conversations with them, as it starts getting more serious, so that they know, that there's protections in place for them, so that they're not going to lose their money if the house burns down. You let them know that you have the right insurance on the property. And then the last piece of it, just make sure you take care of your private lenders and do what you say you're going to do, because you're going to completely, you're going to destroy your reputation if you don't do what you say you're going to do. That's like of utmost importance. So now, again, I bought this property. Now, this is one of this particular portfolio, one of, I think seven or eight properties. I think seven properties, 8 units in that we built an entire portfolio. We bought all these houses in a small chunk of time. all with private money, all with cash out of closing. We got them repaired and got them rented. So now, why is it so important to refinance the property? Like, okay, you got them in there. The lenders are happy. They're getting paid every month. Well, that's all well and good, but at some point they're going to want their money back, number one. Number two, you're not paying down your debt, right? So every single month you still owe what you owe, because we structure these so that it's interest only. So every month we're paying the interest, 1 month's worth of interest to the lender. So wow. So okay, so you're not getting any pay down. Well, that's not good, right? And if you're paying, let's say, I'm just going to throw numbers out there, it could be wherever it ends up being, but let's say you're paying 8% and to a private lender, interest only, versus a regular lender, commercial lender, regular bank at 4%, you're paying twice as much in interest. So on $1 million worth of assets, that's a lot of money. 8% would be what, 80,000, so $40,000 a year additional money that you're putting in your pocket because you lowered the interest rate. So you increase your cash flow. So that's one important reason to refinance. Second reason is now you're paying down your debt. And then number three, when you refinance, they base it on what the property's worth. So if you did a good job buying, you bought low, and you were able to create equity when you fix the property up, you can now cash out. So go to the next screen here. So this is before and after refinance for this portfolio. So before, we were paying an interest, $38.25, right? A month was our monthly payment, interest only. Afterward, principal and interest, right, was $26.42. So we're increasing our cash flow by 11. I'm sorry, interest was $26.42, not principal and interest. So interest, we're saving $1,183 a month in interest. But now we also have to pay, we're paying down the loan too. So $890 a month is paying down our loan, right? So, and then additionally on top of it, our payment went from $38.25, because it was interest only, to $35.32. So that being said, our payment, we were saving $293 a month. So we increased our cash flow by $293 a month. And we also borrowed after the fees, after the surveys we had to do, and after, paying, you got to buy, all the drama associated and closing costs associated with a commercial loan. We still walked away from the table with $86,000, almost $87,000. We walked away from the table when this portfolio was complete. Now, the beauty of it is it's tax-free, because we didn't earn that money. We didn't make that money. We borrowed that money. We have to pay it back. That's rolled into this payment of $35.32, right? So after we refinanced and paid off all of our lenders, we still came and received a check at closing of the refinance of $86,000. So like that there really spells out the power of that, of the refinance, right? It's so important to refinance. You might be able to find private lenders willing to give you the same terms as the bank, but it's definitely, it's a lot easier to get give people good returns on their money, get the portfolio built, get it cash flowing, get it refinanced, get some cash free money, and just continue to increase your cash flow. It overall is a phenomenal way to go about buying properties. So this entire portfolio, we didn't take a penny out of our pocket the entire time. Every house we borrowed the purchase price, and we borrowed the purchase price and the rehab price, and again it builds upon itself. So in the beginning, you're really not taking out cash flow. Yeah, technically it's cash flowing, but all that cash flow is put back into fixing up the properties, So, you had, like I said, this one, I think it was a small portfolio. I think there was 7 properties, and then the ones that we did first, now they're cash flowing. So money's coming in from those, but you got potential expenses on the others that are higher than you thought. You missed the rehab, but all that cash flow comes back when after a year I get $86,000 cash free. So I can go a year without taking any cash flow out of the properties and just leave it in the portfolio until the refinance. So that's just a quick overview of what that looks like. And see if I can stop sharing my screen so you can see my full head and all the glory. And again, just, if you want to reach out to me, if you have any questions at all regarding this, feel free to pop it into the chat room. And that's why I haven't got any comments. I got to change it over to comments. Look at that. You guys are commenting in here. I'm like, hey, how come I'm talking to myself? And I forgot to hit the little comment button. But again, you can reach out to me, chatwithchatto.com. We'll get you an email with a link to my Facebook group and a link to the contracts that I use, at least, and not legal advice. Got to keep saying this. So where was this property? Dan was asking. This was in Hamilton, New Jersey. What do you? That was one question that was out there that Dan asked. Hopefully you're still on. You got that. Ian, yes, I did refinance. I just explained that, obviously. Michael was asking, what am I paying for interest to my private lenders? So that's a good question, and it varies. Interest rates being as low as they are now, you could probably even get them lower. Again, we want it to make sense. We have to cash flow on a deal. So, it ranges anywhere from 7 to 10%. As far as paid on a monthly basis. So if we borrow $120,000, 10%, if you borrowed at 10%, would be $12,000 a year divided by 12 is $1,000 a month, right? So that's like, worst case scenario. 10% would be, the absolute most I would consider paying on private money, but a lot of people are willing to take less. We don't usually pay points, depending on the deal. Usually most people private lenders don't even know what points even are. It's complete. You want to get them as low as you can, but you also want to be fair. Make sure that you're not taking advantage of people. But again, it's completely negotiable. I've negotiated private. So the other place to get private lending is from the seller itself. We had a seller that had pretty much an entire portfolio that he wanted to sell. It's about 14 units, and we actually we looked at the property, and we in negotiations, he really didn't want to come down on price, but he was willing to owner finance, and we were able to refinance, or not refinance, owner finance with a 4% rate. And part of what he wanted on this portfolio, he wanted $50,000 down. But guess what? I don't do that. So we got one of our private lenders, and we borrowed, I think 60. We wanted to 50 plus, all the closing costs and everything, because it was already performing. Did need some work, but the cash flow was able to pay for the work that needed to get done. So, I guess I would say anywhere from 4% to 10% or 11%. If it, depending on the situation, depending on the lender. But yeah, so cool. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat box, and you can reach out with me, chat with Chatto. Let me just see if I. Yeah, so that's kind of a real life example of how it works. But there's a lot to it. I mean, it's more. You need to be able to manage the properties, like a vacant property is going to completely and utterly destroy you. I mean, if you just think about a rental at, I think it's $1,500 a month. I know how to do math halfway decent. I'm not as good as I used to be. I'm getting weak. But that being said, if you're renting a property for $1,500 a month, which isn't anywhere out of the ordinary, every day that property is sitting vacant, every single day that property is sitting vacant, it's like taking a $50 bill Everything's weird. It's on the wrong side. Taking a $50 bill and just throwing it out the window, which is no good. Like, can you imagine just every day throwing a $50 bill just out the window of your car? Like, that's what you're doing if you have a property sitting vacant. So you can't dilly-dally, and you can't sit there and, oh, take your sweet time with the rehab. It like literally and utterly needs to get rehabbed and rented as quickly as possible. And you need to know what you're doing to manage it. You got to raise your rents every year. You got to make sure you have decent leases. Who are you going to use for evictions? I mean, there's a whole thing you can go into with property management, and that's not the point of this broadcast, is to get into property management. But the more properties you can successfully manage, the more properties you can successfully manage, the more money you can make money with, the more investors can invest with you, and the more value I can provide to people that have money that is parked and they don't know what to do with it, the more cash flow that I can get. It was just such a huge revelation to have to consistently and utterly hustle for a deal. And even if you have a fix and flip business model, again, this is never fix and flip again. Where I'm currently sitting here, this house that I'm in now, was actually a fix and flip that we fixed but didn't flip. There were so many delays. The windows that special order windows for this house, months and months. It just took forever to get these windows. They're coming in next week. Oh, it's delayed another 3 weeks. And just everything came to the point where we had the property ready to put on the market in the week of Thanksgiving, like the worst possible time we have the property on the market. And then ended up sitting for almost a year. Offers, we had offers and they kind of fell through, and now we're paying our lender every month. We're paying the taxes every month, and just the return just was diminishing. And it got to the point where we weren't going to make much money on it. And it's like, you know what? I probably wouldn't have went out and bought this house on my own, but it's a phenomenal house. It's where I want to live. I'll take it, and I ended up deciding to move in and make it my own home. So, that was the last fix and flip I did. And as somebody who still wholesales properties and finds deals and sources deals, it definitely was necessary to, I still come across them. I don't fix and flip. I'll flip the paper, I'll wholesale the contract, and I'll be done with it and make my quick buck. It's so much easier than going through it. At least if I go through it and get to keep the property, there's much more value in it for me. So yeah, I've gotten to the point right now that I'm not going to not going to fix and flip anything. I'm either going to wholesale it, or I'm going to keep it as a buy and hold rental. And then a couple other small points. I know we're running short on time, and feel free to ask any questions that you have. Just a couple other small points as far as buy and hold rentals and this kind of thing that I'm doing. When you're purchasing, there's a code out there that a lot of wholesalers use, and you'll see them use it all the time. They call it a landlord special. So just to me, that's code for it's priced too high. Can't make money fixing and flipping it, so a landlord is willing to pay more. So I just want to dispel that. There's no reason. I think in my mind, when I'm buying property, I look at what I think it's going to appraise for, and then I look at, okay, what is a bank going to give me on when I refinance this out later, right? So even though the property may cash flow, if I bought it for 90%, 80% all in of what it's worth, and I have 10 to 20% equity, even though it might cash flow, when it comes time to do that refinance, instead of coming out of my pocket, instead of putting $86,000 in my pocket, if I owed $100,000 more, right? So that was 8 houses. So if I paid, 100,000 divided by, 7 houses. So what is that? Somewhere around 15,000 per property. If I paid about $15,000 per property more and borrowed 15,000 per property more, I would have actually come to that refinance table. I would have had to come with money out of my pocket in order to close the deal and get everybody their money back, which is not good. So when I buy property, I look at what I think it's going to worth. Now, lenders used to give 75% on commercial. Now we're seeing closer to 70%. Some are even threatening 65%, right? So I need to be all in on these properties for, for no more than 70% of the after repair value, right? So that's very similar to, what a fix and flipper is going to have to pay in order, maybe a little more, maybe fix and flippers need a little bit more spread. They got to pay realtor commissions, et cetera, et cetera. But I still need to be able to create that equity. If I am not creating that equity, then I'm not going to buy the property because I'm going to come out of pocket. Maybe not now. I could borrow the money up front, but I'm going to need to pay that money back when I refinance. So I need to have equity when I'm all in. And then the other thing is I need to cash flow. How much am I going to cash flow? Because if at the end of the day, I have to take money out of my pocket every single month to float this portfolio, like that's gonna eat me alive. That's not what I want. I don't want money coming out of my pocket. I want it going into my pocket. So that's the other piece of it. You need to look at when purchasing, the criteria for purchasing. You need to have equity and you need to have cash flow. In order to do that, you really need to know what your numbers are. You need to know what it's going to rent for. You need to know, and you need to know what it's going to be worth afterward. And again, that just comes with experience. I'm not going to get too into that. I have been noticing that rents have been going up substantially over, just in the last year. I'm consistently surprised at what people are getting for rents, how much people are paying for rent. I guess there's a whole lot of factors that play into that. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. You can get in touch with me at chatto.com. Be more than happy to interact with you and answer questions in any way I can. And then also, if you want to email me, I do have questions at goodvibesre.com. It's questions at good, G-O-O-D, vibes, VIBESRE.com. So hopefully that was of value to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. You pop them into the comment section here. And just it really is simply, it really is providing value. It's really like if you can figure out how to make money with money, money will never be an issue because people have money that they don't know how to make money with, right? So it's as simple as that, right? And there's a lot of issues that come up in property management and landlording. There's always something that is completely and utterly out of the ordinary. There's a lot of things that come up at bad times. Sunday morning, tenant gets locked out. What are you going to do? You're going to leave it on them. You're going to help them out. There's people moving people in that aren't any good. There's a lot of interesting things that happen. People decide to start, multifamily, decide to start, dealing drugs. People decide to move in crazy animals and dogs, and city likes to come and get involved in this, that, or the other. There's always something. Gary, you would be able to reach me. The email address is questions. Yep, there you go. Dan put it out there. Can I put this on the screen? Let me see, how does this work? I don't even know this technology. No, I can't. I guess I need. But anyway, yeah, it's questions. Dan put it out there. Questions at goodvibesre.com. That is my email address. Go to chatwithchatto.com and you can get the link to my Facebook group. Very small group. I'm involved in it. I'll answer your questions. It's not like I am not a internet marketer. I am not a guru. I'm just a guy that does real estate, right? So if I can help you in any way I can, I will. But yeah, so just as I was saying, lost my train. Yeah, it's just like property management. There's a lot of rules you need to follow. There's a lot of things you need to figure out as far as how far you want to go, with anything, as far as, how far you like. I mean, there's people that, big property management companies that, follow all the rules to a T. And then there's landlords that have really no idea what they're doing, and, they're figuring it out as they go. And, there could be liability associated with that. So it's not, property management is not for the faint of heart. But it is, it's not for the faint of heart, but it is profitable. Not the management, but the asset, and the cash flow from the assets is powerful. And I know some people have a model where they just, outsource the management. It's difficult to manage property, and any big company doing it. Some are probably better than others, but depending on the class of home that you have, depending on the areas where your homes are, that may be more doable than others. Tom's asking, the Facebook group is chatwithchatto.com, and then you'll be able to get a link to the Facebook group, and you put your email in, and it sends you an email with a link to my Facebook group and a link to the contracts that are not legal advice, but that I've used in my own business. So I definitely, if you want to go down the path of getting properties, you can very well raise private money on your first one and just start there. But I definitely, would recommend that, you get your own cash in the game, and, get your first property acquired, even if you have to go and spend more for it, but get a bank loan up front. You need to be able to manage the asset, because if that asset isn't managed right, you're not going to be able to pay your lenders back. If you go through and you get a regular loan on your first rental property, fine, that's great. I mean, get an FHA loan, get your first loan, get a house hack, get a 3-4 unit, move into one of the units at first. Buy the property at even close to market, you'll be okay. Because you're getting a great FHA loan, 3% down, and what do you call low interest rate, and you'll be able to now learn how to manage the asset. My first property was a 3-family that I purchased with an FHA loan, and then I bought the 3-family, then I bought another 3-family, then I bought a 2-family. That was all up in New England, and that was all when it was a little easier to get loans. But still, like, that's where I kind of cut my teeth and figured it out and learned how to do it. Right. And then when I started buying properties, I sold those, before the crash, and moved back down to Pennsylvania. And, then when I started buying properties again, I was using my own money. Right. So that experience, while at the time I didn't get it, was invaluable. Like, that experience was invaluable. I mean, getting a $5,000 water bill is like, wow, figuring that out. Right. And it's, you need to have the financial wherewithal to handle those type of things. There's a lot of things that can come up on a rental property where, $5,000 gone. We're going through it right now with one of our multifamilies, and, the amount of issues we're having with the drain and the sewer, it might end up costing at least that. Another property where it needs to replace a sewer line. It's a suburban property, on 1/4 acre, and that's going to cost me another $5,000. A heater goes, boom, $5,000. You need to put a new roof on a property, $5,000. Right. So there's always, you need to have some type of reserves and be able to have the wherewithal to go ahead and have the wherewithal to, like, really go ahead and handle the things that come up. Right. Because if you can't, then you're going to get yourself in a position where you're not going to be able to pay your lender. You're not going to be able to take care of them. Right. Because your lenders trust you. Right. And you really need to make sure that you're in a position that you're going to be able to pay them back as prescribed. Right. That you're going to be able to handle them and take care of them. Because if you're not, it may work out, but it may not. And you need to be upfront with them, and let them know where you are and what you're doing and what your experience is when you get started. So I definitely recommend. And again, if you figure out how to find deals, like I talked about in the first one, you could always make money from the deals. So even if it's a matter of if you buy a property with no money down and use somebody else's money, and they fund the purchase and they fund the rehab, you need to have some cash sitting in reserves in case things go sideways, that you can weather any storms. There's times, where I've had just multiple issues with multiple people not paying and multiple, major systems failures. And, it sometimes can feel a little grim. And luckily I was able to have, what I needed to do to get through that and have the financial, the reserves to handle it. So anyway, so I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover. If anybody else has any comments or any questions, feel free to put them into one of the multiple chat boxes. Apparently you guys can be on all sorts of different places. And again, chatwithchatter.com if you want to reach out to me. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys. And let me just see if there's any. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And you guys have a great afternoon. Enjoy the weather.